This month, October 2020, a bronze statue is being unveiled in a medical school campus in northern China. This statue is that of Dr. Ke Dihua, a medical practitioner who died in the year 1942. Multiple Chinese top leaders, Zhou Enlai, Peng, Jinato, and Keqiang, and even Xi Jingping have met and honored the living family members of Dr. Ke Dihua, even 75 years after his death. Now, why is this event significant? Isn't it common for heroes to be remembered with statues and their memories honored? This is significant because Ke Dihua wasn't Chinese. Ke Dihua is the Chinese name of Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnes, an Indian doctor from Solapur of modern-day Maharashtra. Welcome to Masala History by Siva. In our series, we have always celebrated those unsung heroes that our history books have long forgotten, the likes of Kinthup of Darjeeling, Velu Nachiyar of Sivaganga, Pennycuick of Mullaperiyar Dam. If you're curious to learn more about these people, do visit fb.me/Masala History by Siva and hit the archives. In the same spirit, today, I will tell you the story of Dr. Kotnes, who transcends borders and stands revered in China, even in the backdrop of Indo-Chinese relationship strains. The inspiration to do this episode comes from a longtime friend, fan, and advisor, Kalpana. Brimming with curiosity about anything and everything, she is always ready to be outside her comfort zone, be it learning Tamil or Urdu, or flying planes, or learning classical dance. She has been an inspiration to many people. A few weeks back, she seeded this topic in my head that has eventually led to making this episode. Kalpana, this one is for you. And with that intro, let's sit in our time machines and set the dial to 1938. The 1930s to 40s were a time of upheaval both in India and in China. While in India the freedom struggle was gaining momentum, China was facing invasion by the Japanese. Japan wanted to fancy itself as the supreme colonial power of Asia and was plundering China. In 1938, the invasion of Nanking was so brutal and horrific it would have put even Hitler to shame. The world sympathized with China. There was an acute shortage of medical practitioners and medicines, with soldiers suffering from severe wounds and no one left to treat them. It was at this time that General Zhu Enlai, a Chinese revolutionary, wrote to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to send doctors to save the lives of the soldiers. The supreme leader, Mao Zedong, himself had added a note to this cry for help. Quote, "Our emancipation, the emancipation of the Indian people and the Chinese, will be the signal of the emancipation of all downtrodden and oppressed. We need help." End quote. Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose decided to act. Let's quickly take a look at the early life of our hero Dr. Kotnes right now. Dwarakanath Kotnes was born in the year 1910 to a middle-class family in Solapur of erstwhile Bombay Presidency or modern-day Maharashtra. He went on to study medicine at the Seth G.S. Medical College of the University of Bombay. In 1938, Kotnes had just graduated from his studies and was preparing for post-graduation courses. This was when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, who was then the President of the Indian National Congress, decided to respond to the plea for help from China. They asked for volunteer doctors to go to China and be there and help them for a year. When he heard of this opportunity, Dr. Kotnes informed his family of his wish to volunteer abroad for a year before going for higher studies. The non-political middle-class family was not familiar with China at that time, except for the fact that it was a war zone and it had good silk. But the 28-year-old physician had made up his mind. Dr. Kotnes, along with 4 other doctors, Nagpur's M. Cholka, Calcutta's B.K. Basu, Debashish Mukherjee, and Allahabad's M. Atal, were the team of 5 that were dispatched from India to China via boat. Mao Zedong and General Zhu Dai personally received the young doctors at the revolutionary base of Yan'an in China. This was, after all, the first medical team from another Asian country that had volunteered to help the Chinese soldiers. The Indian doctors worked in mobile clinics, treating wounded and injured soldiers. The bloody Sino-Japanese battle saw about 800 soldiers coming in for medical aid every day. On some days, Dr. Kotnes worked tirelessly for about 72 hours straight without a wink of sleep. Finally, the battle ended and the guests from India were ready to go home. All but one, our man Dr. Kotnes. He had fallen in love with China and decided to spend some more time there. His letters to his family reflected all that he loved about that ancient country. He was gradually becoming one of them, and he joked and sang in Chinese. He even learned how to read and write Mandarin. Ke Dihua Dai Fu, which was Chinese for Dr. Kotnes, was a very popular man already. After having served in northern China, Kotnes joined the Mao-led 8th Route Army in 1939. Here too, he was working stressful hours every day. He was so dedicated that even when he heard the news of the demise of his father, he chose to stay back and save dying soldiers instead of returning to India. The following year, in 1941, Dr. Kotnes was appointed as the director of the Bethune International Peace Hospital. This is where he met the love of his life, Guo Qinglan, an unorthodox Christian nurse who served in the peace hospital. In late 1941, the two got married, and in August of the following year, they were blessed with a son. Their son was named In Hua, In meaning India and Hua meaning Chinese. Kotnes continued his work with utmost sincerity, performing 2,000 surgeries in a single year. He also taught in the medical school, wrote textbooks, and often did all of this without any sleep. The stress of the job was getting to Dr. Kotnes and started affecting his health. On 9th December 1942, Dr. Kotnes, who saved thousands of lives, lost his life to an epilepsy attack. He was just 32 years old. It is still inconceivable that he created so much impact just under the extremely young age of 32, proving that age is just another number. Mao Zedong said this at Dr. Kotnes' funeral. The army lost a helping hand. The nation lost a friend. Let us always bear this in mind of his internationalist spirit. Madame Sun Yat-sen said this in Kotnes' honor. The future will honor him even more than the present because it was for the future that he struggled. True to her word, Dr. Kotnes' family, both in China and India, have been met and honored by every visiting leader on either shores, the last one being Xi Jingping, who met Manorama, sister of Dr. Kotnes, in 2014 in India when she was 95 years old. There are also Chinese stamps of him and a memorial in his honor. Dr. Kotnes even has a medical school named after him in China, the Shijiazhuang Ke Dihua Medical Science Secondary Specialized School at Hebei. In mainstream Bollywood, Dr. Kotnes was immortalized by Dr. V. Shantaram, who produced and acted as Dr. Kotnes in the movie Dr. Kotnes Ki Amar Kahani. This film was simultaneously released in Hindi and in English as The Journey of Dr. Kotnes in the year 1946 and did quite well at the box office. Today, Dr. Kotnes may continue to be revered in China, but in our homeland, he is reduced to an occasional textbook one-liner or a series of prosarticals that pick up steam when any Chinese leader visits the country. Stay back with me if you're curious to hear an unrelated masala bite about Dr. Shantaram, who played the role of Dr. Kotnes in his movie.
नित डोले चित्त डोले नित डोले
Dr. Shantaram was a Padma Vibhushan and also the recipient of Dada Saheb Phalke and several awards. However, the renowned filmmaker was also popular for something else, marriage-related laws of this country. Dr. Shantaram's divorce of his second wife was one of the first divorce cases handled by Indian courts just days after the Hindu divorce law came into effect. Similarly, Dr. Shantaram's marriage was one of the last bigamous marriages India had when he married his third wife just days before the law preventing Hindus from having multiple wives took effect. That's enough masala for today. Hope you enjoyed the story of Dr. Kotnis. Keep your feedback, comments, and more importantly, candidate stories coming in. I will see you soon with yet another Masala History.